identified the
This
problem.
is what's going on. Yeah.
This is the seed of your frustration. I don't know if we need to, should we investigate? So what do you think? I know it's easy to take this personally or whatever, but what do you think objectively the cause of that situation is? I mean, because you're not alone. I mean, I hear musicians expressing this, especially people who have been around like we have, who remember a better day for the working musician and all that, in venues. So what do you think? This is obviously some kind of a trend. What do you think of the cause of it, if you had to identify it?
That's a really good question. I don't know. I really don't. It's funny because like the one set of the festival events that I do, or the specialty events that I do, they are really making a lot of money. Now you could say, maybe they have a lot of overhead and it's costing them a lot of money. Or maybe they just want to make more money. I really can't answer that,
Yeah,
So
it could be a supply and demand thing, perhaps.
Right. It's possible.
It's just one of those glamour. I mean, because we always hear the jokes or the comparisons to other industries. Try to getting your electrician to play for, to do work for exposure, and all this, and doctors and so on, and how. And I've certainly, in my fan funding thing that I did over the summer for this upcoming book called The Empowered Artist, I talked about how the role of the artist, whatever the creative endeavor is, whether it's a musician, an actor, a writer, or whatever, or painter, that they sell them. They're sold short by society in general, but also by themselves. And so there's a whole lot of different layers here to it. So let's. But it is, I guess maybe it's that whole, there's so many people that want to be musicians that are clamoring for attention that we can lower our, we don't have to pay as much, but let's not wallow in what's wrong. So let's start turning our attention to solutions. So let me I'll ask you a couple of different questions on different levels, but related specifically to live gigs. What would some solutions be to improve your economic situation for 2015, just strictly related to the live shows that you've done so much of?
Well, see, that's a good question. I guess I'll have to do the same thing that I did that led me to the type of gigs that I have now. Because when I started, and we're talking about the Mr. Billy, Kids and Family show specifically. All right. When I first started doing it, the only thing I did really was schools. Mm-hmm. We would do like school assemblies and artisan residencies, and that was pretty much all I did. And then I remember I didn't know what I would do for the summers. I was freaked out because I was new at this, and then I found out you could play libraries. Well, that's great. But then in the last 3 or 4 years or so, the school budgets have been cut so much that and there's other things too, that the school business just kind of went away, literally, for me. So what I needed to do was I needed to find other things, other venues, you know what I mean, and different places to play. So, and that led me to these type of events, like corporate events and conventions and expos and things like that,
fairs and festivals,
which we've covered here on this show. They're really good episodes. So that's one thing. And the other thing too, and I guess this is something here, since you got me talking, is I would recommend nobody get really comfortable and expect to get that gig next year, because there was a time when almost all of my work was based on repeat business, and I wasn't actually cultivating new gigs for a little while. That was a no-no. And because of that, when they suddenly decided not to have me for the 8th year or the 5th year or the 9th year, right, I was in shock. What? You don't want me? What's wrong with you? In my mind. And also had no gig and was scrambling around, but I wasn't opening myself up to a lot of new markets. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So
I remember 2 episodes back in the rebranding your musical identity. We were one of the things I remember bringing up in that one was your 3 different types of audiences, and I was relating to fans here, your past fans, your current fans, your future fans,
right.
And you could actually take that same approach to gigs or people that book you or hire you. There are people that have done it in the past that no longer book you. There are people that are actively having the repeat gigs or the annual or monthly gigs or whatever, and then there's people. There's markets that you haven't tapped yet. And I was trying to point out in that episode that there's a danger in focusing too much on like one of them. You really should be sort of trying to do your best to juggle all 3 of them. Following up with people that you used to perform, see if their situation's changed. Still paying a lot of attention and cultivating, thanking and appreciating the people that are currently booking you, but also looking ahead. Where can I perform next in case one of these things falls off? So I guess the same thing with venues applies, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. And for instance, there's one type of show I do is like the Thomas the Train shows, mm-hmm. and that fluctuates from year to year. I mean, there's 2 that I do always, and then some come in, some come out. So I always have to remember to put my name out there in front of all of the Thomases. There's like 50 of them a year. And so I always got to remember to at least send people a message saying I'm available if you need me, so they remember me for maybe they'll use me next year. You know what mm-hmm. I mean? And that's another thing that's important to do. I guess, one thing I guess with someone like myself too is I think maybe I got a little too comfortable, mm-hmm. Just expecting too much. Yeah,
that's one thing I was going to say as your coach of this episode, Billy. So it's really easy to blame exterior circumstance. All the music, scene sucks, and the venue people don't appreciate me, and all this blame. But it's also a very healthy thing from a personal growth standpoint is to accept responsibility for your current circumstances. So we've already kind of touched on it here, but you've kind of opened the door here. So if I had to ask you, what role did you play? Yeah, in this current frustrating situation, what would that be? Would it be putting your eggs in one basket, or?
Well, I think it was just expecting things and not having a backup plan musically. Mm-hmm. I think it's a really good idea. I just didn't see it coming. That's what I mean. Every year, mm-hmm. one or 2 of my regular gigs don't re-up, or they take a year off or something, and that's fine. I expect that. But when a whole bunch just do it at once, that's scary,
right?
So So what? Let me turn it back around to you, Bob. You lay down now.
Oh no, this is a one-way coaching thing.
I mean, okay, so
go ahead.
But what would you do? If you were in a situation where, a quarter or a third or half of your income, whatever, pick a number, suddenly vanished. I mean, what do you do? What would your move be? Or what do you recommend I do, Coach Bob?
Yeah, so identifying the role that you played in it, you have to take 100% responsibility for the circumstances of your life, even though there are exterior things out of your control that can happen. I know in this area, I know Jack Canfield, in his teachings and writings have been an influence, and he talks about this, but he also has this formula called E plus R equals O. And so E stands for the events of your life. Again, quite often, out of your hands. There's, other people's, the weather, there's, the economy, what they do in Washington. These are all things that you really don't have direct control over. They're the events of your life. The R stands for your response to them. So the events in your life, how you respond to them will equal your outcome. And that's what the O, stands for. And so, so basically it's how you can, there's a period where you should grieve and be frustrated and allow yourself to feel that. You vented yesterday on Facebook and a little bit here on the episode, but now you got to come to solutions and how are you going to respond to it? So one way of doing that, I learned this from Tony Robbins, learn from the best and then spit it back.
Wait. I know what you're going to tell me. You're going to tell me that I should call those gigs and tell them what screw ups they are for not having me, and then tell all the other musicians that they shouldn't work for them, and then post up a whole bunch of stuff on Twitter and Facebook that like nobody should go to these events and what a ripoff they are. Isn't that right, Bob?
Exactly. We should just complain and wallow. Yeah. In fact, I'm going to start a new Facebook group called Whiny Victim Musicians. Where we all just complain to each other about how bad things are.
Oh my gosh! I'm going to start that now, don't you?
There's a powerful thing you can do. It's the power of questions, and the quality of questions that you ask yourself will lead to the quality of answers and solutions that you come up with. So one question you could ask yourself, and you probably did, is why are all these venues so stupid, or why are they all dumping me? So you ask a question like that, your brain assumes it's a valid question. It comes back with, well, because you suck, because the whole industry is going into the toilet. It's not a very empowering question. It doesn't lead to very empowering answers. So another question you could ask is, well, how could I do a better job of booking venue gigs, in the new year? We sort of started exploring that, getting contracts, maybe seeking out some new markets. There's even a wider, bigger, more open question that you could ask yourself is, how can I still sustain myself, as a full-time musician, or how can I continue to be self-employed and love what I'm doing? And there's a big, open, empowering question, right?
Absolutely.
And so is your income necessarily have to be with as many live shows as you've done it in the past, or is there another way that you can still support your family and enjoy your life? So that's where I'm opening it up to even wider solutions. And so if I pose that question, or you ask yourself that, what would some answers be to that?
Oh, well, I mean, I'm actively pursuing that stuff like nuts anyway. I mean, for instance, to be brutally honest, I really don't know if I want to travel as much as I used to anyway. This may be a blessing in disguise. You know what I mean?
Because I know this about you, even though we haven't really talked about it on the show as much. So maybe this is moving you in a direction you already had inclinations to do. So,
well, that's the thing. I mean, sometimes I think, somebody upstairs is giving me what I'm praying for. You know what I'm saying? And
right.
But then when it happens, it's like, oh my gosh, wow, because I really have been leaning towards wanting to play less road work, do less road work. Play more locally, whether it's with my kids show or my original classic rock duo with my son, and at the same time exploring internet performances. And one of the biggies is getting my music catalog straightened out, because I realized just recently that I'm literally sitting on top of like 2 or 3 albums worth of material that I haven't released yet. And I don't know why. I just don't have an answer for that. I think I got so busy with all these other things and putting out fires and living life that I forgot to release some new CDs. And I noticed that there's a real decline. Check this out. Here's an aha moment for everybody. I noticed that the amount of sales that I get on music is based on my output of music. It's like, a lot of people would say, Billy, you've done 28 CDs for kids, 2 CDs for grown-ups. Isn't that enough? Well, the answer is no, if it's not selling anymore. You know what I mean?
I've heard that same thing for like Kindle authors, and for, your output definitely has well.
So I guess what I would like, Bob, is I would probably like to redesign my life a little bit. Maybe this is actually giving me that opportunity, which is what a lot of the people in the group told me. They were like, first of all, I was shocked to see that everybody was like really supportive about how transparent I was and just saying, look, I'm not perfect either. And we're all here to help each other. And that was a beautiful thing. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And folks that listen to the show, man, Bob and I, we don't have all the answers. We really don't. But we know where to find them.
and we've lived this stuff too, as full-time self-employed people.
Yeah, and I, even right now, you can hear the difference in my voice, and I'm sitting up straighter and smiling a little bit now compared to how I started the show, Bob. Because now, you're getting the juices flowing, and I appreciate the questions you're asking. So, now what I've got to do, and actually, it really put a fire under my butt, to be honest with you, because quite frankly, I haven't been feeling so great the last couple of months, and I've been slow. I haven't been getting up as early. I've been putting things off, and once all this kind of happened, it kind of reignited my fire, and I was like, well, crap, I got to do something. You know what I mean? So
would it be safe to say that in a weird way, as frustrating and as shocking and unexpected as this was, it actually might have kind of re-energized you to pursue a direction that you were